So a few weeks ago I did a video talking about 5 NES games that are way too expensive that you guys need to play and just emulate them. Do not buy them. Don't pay the crazy prices of what they're worth. Now I love the NES, but I'm neglecting my first love, and that is the Super Nintendo. Now this system, even more than the NES, it's even more of a culprit that there are so many good games on this system. Damn good games that are just going for way too much money these days. So I picked out 5 of them from my collection for us to take a look at today that you guys just need to emulate the shit out of and play them, experience them. First one to start off with, how about a Capcom brawler? How about King of Dragons? Now, everybody always talks about the other Capcom brawler that's a medieval fantasy game, Knights of the Round, which is very much, I would say, almost like a reskin of Final Fight, that you have your 3 characters, one strong, one middle, one fast, but there are little RPG upgrades in there, so it's slightly different, but more or less kind of the same thing. That doesn't mean it's not a good game, though. It has 2-player co-op. But anyway, getting to King of Dragons, this game doesn't have 3 characters you can play as, it has 5. So starting with that, you have the warrior, which is strong, and he has very weak magic, and on the other end of that is the wizard. Very weak physical attacks, but strong as fuck magic attacks. And also mixed in there, you have a dwarf who can also use his shield to repel attacks. You have an elf who has a bow and he can use ranged attacks. And you also have a cleric who is pretty big and has some pretty damn good defense. And he also has magic that can heal other characters. So this also is another co-op game that's awesome. So like I said, it is in a medieval fantasy setting, very much akin to Lord of the Rings, Dungeons and Dragons. You're going to be fighting cyclopses, orcs, dragons, things of that nature. But the levels mix it up really well. Some are kind of short, some are kind of long. But this game is long overall. There's about 16 levels here, and it gets very challenging. Another thing that's really cool about this too is that after each level you get an item which will upgrade your shield or your weapon too. So it's not that you could choose, it's either one, and it will balance out throughout the game. So also for using magic, you have your 2 attacks, one for attack and one for jump. You hit them both and you can use your magic. But also, there's little treasure chests along the way, and they'll leave you treasure for your points, which can add up to extra lives, food to refill your health, or also there's certain times where there'll be these orbs that you can hit, and they will use a magic spell of lightning, or you could turn enemies into frogs, or it'll shoot like fire blast down, and you could kind of save this too. It almost acts as like a balloon, and you could bounce it along and kind of wait until like the next wave of enemies comes in, and as soon as they're on screen, bam, strike it, knock them all down. So I couldn't recommend this game more. King of Dragons is awesome. Like I'm going to say throughout this video, I really do not know what these games are going for now. All I know is that they're very expensive and they're getting very hard to find. So if you like brawlers and you like a medieval fantasy setting, especially Final Fight or Knights of the Round, I could not recommend King of Dragons more. Alright, next one I want to talk about. Kind of a weird game. I know people have done reviews on the internet about this before. It's kind of a cult classic, but it's one of my favorites on the system. I grew up with this one, and that's EVO, The Search for Eden. Now this is an RPG and a side-scrolling platformer, and it goes through 5 stages of evolution. This game is really, really its own thing, but it's fucking amazing. So it does have a general story that there is the character of Gaia who has like this ocean of blue hair, very anime styled, and apparently your spirit is trying to win her love or something. It's a very convoluted JRPG-esque kind of story. But that aside, you don't need to worry about that. The gameplay is great here. So you start out, the first part of the game is when the world is just completely covered in water, and you start out as this tiny little fish going around just eating other enemies. Now that's a big thing that you do in this game, is you eat and eat and eat and eat. A big thing that you have to know, this game is very grind heavy and does take a while, so you gotta have patience to play this game, but it does pay off because it's just so much fun. So as you eat, the enemies will leave little pieces of meat behind, and from that you will gain health and you will also gain XP. Now what you can do with that, you can open up a window here, and you can select different things to upgrade your jaws, upgrade your fins, upgrade your body, and you can mess around with that and create just not limitless, but many different types of creatures. That fins sometimes can make you move faster horizontally or vertically. A larger body will allow you to take more damage and give you more hit points. Jaws, obviously, that's the first thing I always go for, gives you a better attack. So this game, like I said, it goes through 5 major steps in evolution on Earth. So the first one is when the world is covered in water. The second one is the first creatures on land, when the first creatures came out of the water. And that is sort of a war between amphibians and reptiles versus insects. And the main insects that you're fighting are bees. And seriously, fuck bees. Fuck any insects that fly and sting you. So the second area is a lot of fun to fight because you're just fucking up bees. The third one is where the world entirely breaks open, and that is my favorite part. That is the era of dinosaurs, and you can create so many different creatures here. You can create brontosauruses, you can be like a 4-legged stegosaurus or a triceratops, or you can become a motherfucking T-Rex. And also, from all the different menus and evolutions, you can mix and match your dinosaur. You don't just have to be a brontosaurus. You can be a brontosaurus with giant fucking jaws that's a carnivore that just rips through enemies. So the third area is so awesome. Now the fourth one that you get to is the Ice Age. And you could actually choose to keep your dinosaur form or not. You can go into a mammal form in there, and then you can become like a woolly mammoth and all sorts of different creatures like that. The fourth area does get pretty difficult, and then after that it is early man and mammals. So there is a very specific way, I don't remember how to do it, but once you get to the fifth area, you actually can eventually evolve into a human being, and the boss of the game is a gigantic caveman that you could fight. So you can become a caveman who's kind of a formidable opponent to him, but at the end of the game it does get pretty difficult. Actually, I would say almost all the bosses in this game are pretty difficult. If you let their attacks start on you, they will just keep spamming you. So you really have to learn their patterns, and again, take your time and be patient with this game, but it pays off. So this sounds awesome to you and you want like a really, really odd but amazing game, check out EVO. You guys like shooters? You guys like westerns? You guys like steampunk? You guys like Firefly? I fucking love Firefly. Then you guys need to check out motherfucking Wild Guns. I didn't realize until maybe about 5 years ago how much this game was going for and how much of a cult following there was. I just recently found out that there was a game, Wild Guns Reloaded, that Natsume put out. I haven't checked that one out, but I definitely need to. So this game is very unique in that it is a third-person shooter where you move, your character moves along in the foreground and you have a target reticle and you have to shoot all different enemies that come at you. So the first level, you're in Carson City and you're fighting outside of a bar and you'll be shooting enemies, and then suddenly all sorts of robots show up and it's crazy. The game just mixes it up, and right from the get-go, right out the gate, this game is hectic as fuck, and it's very Contra-like too, because one hit, you're fucking dead. So you really gotta knuckle down and be careful here. But this game also, as difficult as it is fair. The enemy shots do move pretty slow, and if you move your reticle over them, you can shoot those out, and there is something to do if you do that. I'll get to that in a minute. But also, something very, very important, you will have a little speech bubble out of your character that says, look out when you have any projectiles coming towards you, so you're going to know to jump out of the way or know to look for them. Now, shooting projectiles out of the air, that's going to fill up your Vulcan cannon meter at the bottom, and if you do that, you unleash the ultimate weapon of the Vulcan cannon, and there, you can just absolutely fuck shit up. This gun just rips through everything. It's so satisfying to use. So your main gun is an automatic. You can just hold down on that, and also if you spam the shoot button, you can use a lasso, and if you hit an enemy with a lasso, freezes them in place. It's a pretty good strategy to use that on some of the mini-bosses on the robots, where you can just freeze them in place and then spam them with whatever weapon you have. Now your main weapon, like I said, is an automatic, but you can pick up other weapons too, upgraded machine gun, shotguns. The shotgun is so much fun because it just tears through everything. And after you beat the first level, the game opens up and you have level selects and you have all different other levels to go through. And there is definitely a lot of replay value here, and it's a lot of fun that it's 2-player co-op also. So I couldn't recommend this game more. If you guys like hectic, third-person shooters in a very stylized, steampunk, Wild West, Firefly-looking world, check out Wild Guns. Alright, this fourth title that I want to talk about is a late release, came out around 1995. LucasArts did it and Konami published it, and that is fucking Metal Warriors. Never owned this game until recently. I had it as a kid, and I got it in a trade, and holy shit, this game holds up after the years. So, you guys ever played Cybernator? Side-scrolling mech game that Konami also did? This is Cybernator on fucking steroids. The game is so much fun. So strangely enough, the game has very much an anime kind of feel to it, of using different mechs, and the cutscenes are absolutely gorgeous in this game. It's some absolutely amazing pixel art. But strangely enough, with it having an anime tinged feel to it, only came out in the United States. There was no Japanese release for this game, which I was honestly very surprised to find out. So this game is a side-scroller. You play in a mech, and there's different missions that you have to go through attacking different space stations, different ships. There's bases on asteroids and things like that. It's just a basic story of fighting against some overarching giant power, and you need to rescue other team members, take down other enemies, and essentially just fuck anything up that gets in your way. So you have your mech, and you can fly around in that, and you also have a lightsaber type weapon for melee. You can also drop shields down in front of you and walk behind that to repel any incoming fire. Now, a lot of the levels are very open to explore. There's all sorts of different areas where you can hit different switches and destroy different things to open different platforms. Very cool things that you could jump out of your mech to move down little hallways, and there'll be other guys there, and you have like a rocket pack with that too, and you can climb around, hit switches to open up other areas. Now also, when you're out of your suit, there are other suits that you can jump into also. So there's 4 or I believe 5 other ones that you can jump into that all have different things. So the main one that you have just has a regular kind of standard laser cannon. There's other ones with dual machine guns, other ones that fire rockets. It's crazy. All the different mechs have very varied styles of attack. And you gotta be careful too. If you jump out of your mech and there's other rival humans running around, they will jump in your mech, and at that point you are pretty much fucked because you have a mech coming at you, and it kind of sucks that it's your own that's killing you. So with your mech also, there's other items that you can pick up that will add a rocket launcher on top of yours. There's other ones that makes you look very much like Metal Storm, where you can verse gravity and walk on the ceilings and things like that. That one's kind of difficult to use, but it's just a very cool aspect to have. But as me, being an artist, overall, just the design and the aesthetic of the game is absolutely beautiful. And one really cool thing that was implemented in this is that there's no health meter. Not at all. Your suit, whenever you're in that, will start out as a very bright red, and as you take damage, you will dull down to a gray, and then eventually you will lose parts of your mech. You will lose your arms, you'll lose your ability to shoot, you'll lose your jetpack ability, so you really got to be careful and plan ahead. But there are places where there are dispensaries of health and things like that, and you're going to need it. Because right out the gate, this game pulls no punches and gets very difficult. But if you like side-scrollers, you like mechs, you like blowing stuff up, and you like an anime setting, oh man, Metal Warriors. It's one of the best aged games on the system, and I will pop this in any day. I absolutely love this game, so check it out. So since we're on the topic of Warriors, let's talk about Ninja Warriors. Another awesome brawler on the system, and I didn't realize, again, how popular this game had gotten and how much it had gone up in price. This is one that I got years ago that I always wanted as a kid. Now, I used to rent this game all the time, and I remember even back in the day, this game being very hard and very expensive to find. There was a Babbage's by my house, and I would go in there regularly, and this game was $75 back in 1993. So that was insane. You do the math on whatever the inflation is for it. So this game has always, I guess, been kind of expensive. But if you guys like brawlers, this game is really cool. Now, it takes place on a 2D side-scrolling plane, unlike Final Fight where you can move up and down and left and right. This you can just move left and right. I guess you can kind of compare it to Shinobi, or I guess more like Bad Dudes. Bad Dudes would be a better one to go with, only this game is a lot better than that. So you have your 3 standard characters. You have one, the big guy named Ninja, really creative there. He's the one that's super slow but just powerful as fuck. You have Kuniochi, the female ninja, who is the weakest of the 3 but is fast as shit and can just flip all over the screen. And then you have my personal favorite, the balanced one, Kamitachi, with his bladed arms. He is my absolute favorite one to use. I think everybody who's played this game could generally agree Kamitachi's the one you want to fucking play as. So what's really cool about this game is just you having a relentless onslaught of enemies that come at you. So you have your generic guys that come at you with knives. You have dudes that will come at you that look like Ken from Street Fighter that will breathe fire at you. You have little dudes with like giant implanted blades for their arms. You have dudes in suits trying to kick your ass. You have some Andor looking motherfuckers from Final Fight. This game is absolutely relentless. Now what's really cool is how, when you play the game, how you approach the enemies, how you attack them. You can come at them from your straight on attacks, and the more attacks that you do, you will go into a combo to take more enemies down. Now each one has a different one, or each character has a different combo system, so learning those, you'll learn a strategy to take down each enemy. Now with Ninja, you can jump in, you can grab enemies and slam them into the ground. With Kuniochi, you can use their sword and dash through enemies. And Kamitachi, my favorite one, he can either use for his combo at the end, spinning his arms with a blade, or reaching his arm and extending it out and going through multiple enemies and just knocking them all down. So it depends on the way you approach your enemy, either vertically or from the bottom, or if you're ducking or straight on, of how you're going to attack. And you have to learn these combo systems in order to get through the game, because you will be overwhelmed with enemies, and you have to constantly be evaluating your strategy of exactly how you're going to attack these guys just so for you to survive. Now, you don't have any lives in this game too. You just have one very long energy meter, and when that's done, you're done. But there are health pickups along the way. There are these giant yellow crates that you can use to throw at enemies, and they eventually will break open. You can have 2 or 3 hits on those, and there'll be different energy pellets in there, ranging from small to large, and depending on how big they are, gives you more energy. Now with other things to throw, there's computers, there's dirt bikes, there's giant marble slab benches that you could throw at them in the level that's in the mall. So it's always very cool to use those and help use those to clear enemies out, because like I said, you will be absolutely overrun with enemies in this game. Now one other thing that you have too, you have a meter that will build up at the bottom, and if you get hit or knocked down, this meter will reset. But if you can keep it going for long enough and it builds up and flashes at the end, that's this explosion that you could let out, which essentially levels the playing field and knocks all the enemies down, and just gives you a minute to think and breathe and regroup and figure out how you're going to attack the next set of enemies. Now clearly, I love brawlers, and I fucking love Ninja Warriors. It's one of the most unique games on the system. It's so much fun. It has a ton of replay value. You have your normal level, and then you also have your hard mode for when you get on that. But start with normal, because like I said, this game is relentless right from the start. Definitely check it out. So those are my 5 Super Nintendo games that I wanted to pick just to talk about with you guys. I know those weren't like as obscure as the NES ones that I had. I know that a bunch of those, especially like EVO, has been talked about quite a bit on the internet. But I just wanted to give my personal feelings and share that with you guys, and just to reiterate how fucking good these games are, and that it sucks that they go for so much money these days, because they're absolutely fantastic and everybody should play these games. Everybody should experience them. So please tell me, comment below, what are some other games that are awesome that just go for way too much money that we all need to check out and just play? And of course, thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you soon, and keep it pixelated. Squarepainter, Squarepainter.